New Fox News polls show Donald Trump and Nikki Haley beating President Biden in a hypothetical 2024 general election matchup. Same poll shows Ron DeSantis in a tie with Biden at 47%. But the president thinks all these polls are the problem.
Mr. President, why are you losing to Trump in the polls?
Wrong polls. Fox News contributor and columnist for The Messenger, Joe Concha, joins me now. Joe, what polls is Biden reading? Because, quite frankly, every poll that I saw out this month shows him losing to Trump, losing to Haley, in a tie with DeSantis, if not losing to DeSantis.
And Todd, we're even seeing polls now that show President Biden as low as 33% approval. Let's put that in context. We are now entering the kind of territory Richard Nixon was in 1974 before he resigned. You have to go back to the same questions when you're talking about this president that most likely Americans are asking every day. Is he too old? Yes. Is he mentally or physically capable to do the job? No. Is he mentally or physically capable to do the job for another 4 years? No. Will he improve or decline with age? I think that's the rhetorical question to end all rhetorical questions. We know the answer. And anyone out there can Google right now President Biden's schedule. On Friday, he had 2 items on his schedule, Todd. He received the daily intelligence briefing in the mid-morning, and then he had lunch with Vice President Kamala Harris. That's it. Nothing over the weekend. And then today, absolutely nothing outside of receiving the daily intelligence briefing at 11 a.m. more than 5 hours from now, because apparently our enemies like to sleep in on Mondays after a long weekend. This is completely unacceptable. I get that he's 81, and if he wants to be at the local golf course and be a starter there, that's fine. But he's president of the United States, and he barely works, and it shows, unfortunately, Todd.
Barack Obama, meantime, reportedly worried about Joe Biden losing the 2024 election. Person familiar with Obama tells the Wall Street Journal that Joe Biden's former boss, quote, knows this is going to be a close race and feels that Democrats very well could lose the 2024 election. That person also says Obama worries that the alternative is pretty dangerous for democracy. On that first part, Joe, is this a kind of report that Obama's people maybe put out there in order to get Joe to bow out gracefully?
I think it was Freud who said there are no accidents and there are no consequences. Right, Todd? So when you look at David Axelrod, for example, who's very close to former President Obama, when he goes on national television and basically begs Joe Biden to drop out of this race, there is a reason for that. It's Axelrod talking, yes, but it's more Obama talking. And now you hear from other people close to Barack Obama saying that this could be a situation where Democrats lose the White House. They're very much in jeopardy of losing the Senate when you consider they have to defend West Virginia and Montana, for example, and Ohio. This could be the type of situation where Donald Trump not only wins, but he has the Senate and the House as well to pass whatever he chooses to pass as far as the border and as far as energy and as far as crime and the economy and so on. So when we hear these warnings, they are very, very real. Democrats are panicking at this point because they know if it's not Joe Biden, who are you going to take off the bench? Who is Mariano Rivera that's going to come out of the bullpen and save the party? And right now, there aren't very good alternatives when you look at who is on the Democratic bench. So that's where we are at this point. We have Donald Trump winning poll after poll, Nikki Haley winning by 17 points in a recent poll. And they know that if it's Biden versus any GOP candidate, there's a good chance they'll lose. Not a great chance, but a very good chance.
Yeah, Sandman's not entering for the Democrats anytime soon. They'd be happy to get Armando Benitez at this point. That's a very specific reference for baseball fans out there. Just quickly, this article goes on to mention the fact that Joe Biden's saving grace right now is the fact that the stock market is hitting record highs. But, Joe, in the 20 seconds we have remaining, does that really matter? I understand Wall Street's happy, but if Main Street's not happy, how does Joe win?
How many investors are out there that are independent and Democratic voters, the types that he needs to bring home to get his base to vote for him again? The stock market's important to a certain extent, sure, but I don't know if it's the end-all, be-all, considering the stock market was also very high during the Trump administration.
I think that's a really good point. And at the end of this article, they say the alternative is pretty dangerous for democracy. You know how at the end of jingles, they always go, do-do-do-do-do-do. I think that's going to be at the end of every story you read from the Democrats at this point forward. Threat to democracy. Yeah. Joe Concha is a threat to no one. He's awesome. He joined us. We appreciate it. Fox and Friends now.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.